The jazz kept playing, but the air turned sharp, perfume, lilies, and something sour underneath. Crystal light skated across the marble, and my daughter's hand was warm in mine. I tasted pennies at the back of my throat. Then my sister leaned in, smiling for her audience. "No room for your discount store kids at this party." A woman hiss-laughed. Lena shrugged. "What? I'm protecting the vibe." My daughter's voice trembled. "Mama, did I do something wrong?" "Nothing," I said, tightening my grip. Near the dessert tower, 2 older kids snickered. "Those shoes are thrift," one muttered. "She's embarrassing," the other added. Lena lifted her glass toward them like a judge. "See, even the children understand." I kept my face calm. "She's 9, and this is private," Lena said, "so either park them at the kiddie table or leave." My daughter jerked away and ran back to me, cheeks wet, breath hitching against my coat. Behind me, my partner stepped closer, silent, steady, dangerous in his calm. Lena smirked. She didn't know she'd just set the trap. And it all started with an invitation that looked like love. It all started with an invitation that looked like love, until you read it twice. Lena's message arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, crisp as a business memo. "You're invited." Not "I miss you," not "please come," just a date, a dress code, and a venue name in bold, Ravenwood Hall. Then the line that made my stomach tighten: "Private event. Security will be strict. Please be mindful of presentation." I showed it to my husband, Ethan, while the kids colored at the kitchen table, markers squeaking against paper. He scanned the screen, then my face, and repeated one word as if weighing it. "Strict. It's a charity gala," I said, keeping my voice airy. "Maybe she's just stressed." Ethan set the phone down carefully. "We'll go," he said. "We'll be polite. We won't give her a scene." Avery glanced up from her drawing and asked, "Is Aunt Lena mad at you again?" "No, sweetheart," I lied, smiling with my teeth. Friday evening, we drove in with the sky bruised purple over the highway, the car smelling like apple slices and stale coffee. "Are there going to be snacks?" Noah asked, pressing his forehead to the window. "It's a party," I told him. "There's always food." Ethan's eyes stayed on the road as he added, "And if there isn't, we leave." We de-learned our rule the hard way. We don't compete with people who measure love in price tags. We show up clean, we show up kind, and we never beg to be wanted. Ravenwood appeared like a postcard someone paid to live inside. Floodlights bleached the stone facade, violins floated through the open doors, and the valet line glittered with metal and polish. Porsches, Range Rovers, a white Bentley. Our plain sedan rolled forward, and I felt the quick scan of strangers' eyes slide over us. At the entrance, a coordinator in black held out wristbands without warmth. "Last name?" I gave it, and her clipboard paused for half a second before she said, "Right. You'll be seated shortly." The smile she added didn't reach her eyes. Beside her, a sponsor wall rose like a billboard of power. Ethan's gaze flicked across the logos, Marigold Foundation, Northbridge Capital, and his jaw tightened a millimeter before smoothing out again. I leaned closer. "Do you think Lena paid for all this?" Ethan didn't look away. Someone did. Before we got out, I reached back and smoothed Avery's collar, brushed a crumb from Noah's khakis, and checked that Ethan's sleeves were buttoned. Avery whispered, "Do we look okay?" "We look like us," I said. "That's enough." We stepped onto the marble, the cold biting through our soles, and the chandeliers above threw hard light over everything we weren't trying to prove. And before we even crossed the threshold, I understood the real purpose of Lena's invitation. We weren't here to celebrate. We were here to be compared. We were here to be compared, so I made sure we looked like a family, not a target. Avery wore a navy dress with tiny pearl buttons I'd sewn back on twice. Noah had khakis that still held a crisp crease, and a white shirt that smelled faintly of detergent and the vanilla lotion he stole from my dresser. No logos, no screaming labels, just clean fabric and careful hands, the kind of cheap you only notice if you've never had to choose between sneakers and groceries. We don't compete with people who measure love in price tags, I reminded myself. Ethan adjusted Noah's collar with 2 fingers, gentle and precise, like he was straightening a tie before a board meeting, then rested his palm on the small of my back, steady, quiet, grounding. His wedding band caught the chandelier light for a second, and a server's eyes flicked to it, then away, like they'd seen something familiar but couldn't place it. "Mom," Noah whispered, "is this the fancy room?" "It's just a room," I said, smoothing Avery's skirt. "We're just people." Avery squeezed my hand hard enough to leave a print. "Do we have to talk a lot?" "Only if you want to," I told her. "Stay close." Inside, the air smelled like white lilies and expensive cologne, and the sound was all crystal clinks and soft violin, music meant to make money feel holy. A photographer's flash popped near the sponsor wall, bright as a warning flare. Everywhere you looked there were status signals, wristbands, velvet ropes, private security with earpieces, and a VIP terrace glowing above the crowd like a private planet. That's when Lena arrived. She didn't walk in. She entered, like a spotlight decided to wear heels. Her hair was lacquered into perfect softness, her dress clung like it had been poured on, and her smile was polished sharp enough to cut. She kissed cheeks, accepted compliments, and then her gaze found us. It traveled slowly, shoes to hems to hands, the way a shopper checks seams before deciding what's worth keeping. "Oh wow," she said, voice dripping sugar. "You actually came." "Hi, Lena," I answered, calm on purpose. Her eyes slid to the kids. "And you brought everyone, so brave of you." Ethan's posture didn't change, but his attention did. He watched the coordinator at the entrance, noted the clipboard, clocked the way staff looked toward the balcony before making decisions, like the room had an invisible owner nobody wanted to disappoint. I leaned close to him, barely moving my lips. "Please don't start anything." He murmured back, almost kind. "I'm not starting, I'm listening. If you've ever been judged by what your kids wear, hit subscribe. Because people like Lena don't stop at clothes, they aim for the child inside them." Lena clapped once, a snap that cut through the violin sweetness. "Come on," she announced to her friends, loud enough to gather eyes. "Let's get you settled." A coordinator appeared at her shoulder instantly, waiting for orders, and Lena pointed past the light, past the center, toward the shadows. We followed Lena's pointed finger, past the glow, past the laughter, past the people who mattered to her. A coordinator in black appeared like she'd been summoned, clipboard hugged to her chest, earpiece tucked behind a neat curl. Her smile was professional, the kind that never reaches the eyes. "Right this way," she said, already turning. The center of the room felt warm gold light, champagne fizz, perfume that cost more than my monthly gas. We took 3 steps, and then we were sliding along the edge of the party where the music thinned and the air cooled. Noah's small hand searched for mine. I laced our fingers tight. Avery leaned into Ethan's side. "Why is it darker over here?" "It's just the lighting," I said, like lighting couldn't be a weapon. The coordinator guided us around a decorative divider that looked expensive until you got close enough to see the scuffed base. On the other side, the world changed. Here, the violin sounded muffled, like it was playing for someone else. A service door kept swinging open, breathing out hot air that smelled of seared meat and dish soap. Silverware clinked in sharp little bursts. Our table waited in the shadow of a coat rack. Not near the kitchen, practically in the back of house's lap. The chairs matched the room if you didn't look too hard. One leg wobbled when Noah sat. The linen had a faint stain, disguised with a heavy fold. Noah looked up at me, brow pinched. "Mom, did we do something wrong?" My throat tightened. I tipped his chin up gently. "No, absolutely not." Avery's voice came out smaller. "Then why are we back here?" Because she needed us to be the contrast, I thought, the before picture, the cautionary tale. I kept my face smooth anyway. "Sometimes parties have weird seating," I said, trying to make the lie sound like comfort. Ethan didn't sit right away. He stood behind my chair, still as a locked door, eyes sweeping the room in quiet angles. Staff moved. Guests moved. His attention didn't. Then he leaned down, mouth near my ear, and whispered, "This is deliberate." "I know," I breathed back, "just not in front of them." His hand settled on my shoulder, warm, steady, anchoring, but his gaze stayed cold. Across the divider, Lena's laughter rang bright as ice in a glass. She glanced back at us, and her smile widened with the satisfaction of a magician who just made something disappear. "Oh, good," she called, voice sweet enough to rot teeth. "You'll be comfortable there. It's quieter." Her friends turned to look. A woman in a glittering gown tilted her head, assessing. Someone whispered, and the whisper moved like smoke. I nodded once. No argument, no performance. Lena blinked like she'd expected me to beg. The coordinator murmured, "If you need anything, flag a server." Then she vanished toward the light. Avery lifted her water glass. The ice was half melted, the sip tasting faintly of lemons and being forgotten. Noah swung his feet under the table, bumping the wobble again. Ethan finally sat. His stillness didn't relax, it sharpened. And when Lena started drifting our way with her little audience trailing behind her, I understood something with sudden clarity. This wasn't seating. This was the first cut of the knife, and she was about to twist it. We'd barely settled at the back table when Lena showed up with an audience. 2 friends at her sides, a coordinator behind them, earpiece blinking. "Oh my God," Lena said, loud and sweet. "You actually came. You invited us." "I did," she sighed. "I thought it would be educational." The blonde Tessa laughed. "Educational like, watch what happens when you shop on clearance." Lena patted Tessa's arm. "Behave, this is my sister." The brunette lifted her flute. "I'm Mara, so what do you do?" "I raise my kids," I said. "That's enough for me." Lena smiled wider. "She's very simple." Noah looked up. "Mom, what does simple mean?" "It means she doesn't need much," Lena answered for me. "No labels, no sparkle, no standards. She thinks showing up is the same as belonging." Tessa leaned toward Avery. "Aw, brave girl, wearing that here?" "It's just my cardigan," Avery whispered. Mara chuckled. "Exactly, honey. And she's a child," I said. "And this is a grown-up room," Lena replied. "Sponsors, cameras, people who write checks. These guests don't donate for sob stories, they donate for polish, for image, for control." Ethan's voice stayed low at my shoulder. "I'm here." Lena pointed behind us without looking. "I put you back here so you'd be comfortable. With coats and kitchen traffic." "With people who won't mind," she corrected. "The VIP terrace is for guests who fit the brand." Noah's voice shook. "Aunt Lena, why are you being mean to my mom?" Lena's smile tightened. "I'm not being mean, I'm being honest. There's a difference." Tessa giggled. "This table is giving bargain bin." Mara nodded toward the lights. "Up there is donors, back here is atmosphere." A nearby guest whispered, "Did she just say bargain bin?" Another answered, "SHH, she's the host." "What's your honesty tonight then?" I asked. Lena leaned closer, then raised her voice so it carried. "I just don't want confusion later." "Confusion about dinner?" "Confusion about access," she said. "About who gets seen, about who gets invited again, about who gets mistaken for someone important." She smiled for the room and delivered it like a toast. "There's no room for your discount store kids at this party." A man near us murmured, "Wow." A woman hissed back, "Don't get involved." Someone else whispered, "Those are her nieces and nephew." Another voice answered, "Apparently not tonight." A third voice, shaky, said, "That's a child." And a fourth replied, "Keep your head down." Avery's breath caught. "Mom, can we go?" Noah didn't look up. "I didn't do anything." My lemon water tasted bitter. Lena waited. I stood and fixed Avery's cuff. "You're not setting standards," I said. "You're performing cruelty." Lena's smile stayed perfect. "My event, my guests, my rules." Ethan looked past her. "Coordinator, what's your name?" "Janelle," the woman said. "Janelle," Ethan said, gentle. "Who's the venue manager tonight?" Lena rolled her eyes. "It's David. He's obsessed with exclusivity. He'll back me." Ethan nodded once. "David, got it." "What are you doing?" I whispered. "Listening," Ethan murmured. "That earpiece is taking orders. The sponsor wall has the same logo twice, someone's cutting corners." Tessa called as she walked away, "Try not to ruin the vibe." Mara added, "And keep the kids out of photos." "Names," Ethan murmured. "Witnesses, receipts. They think it's a joke. It's a record." And in that moment, I knew her performance had just opened the case. We didn't storm out after Lena's no-room stunt. We stayed on purpose. Our table sat beside the service doors where the air smelled of truffle oil sanitizer and hot linen, and the jazz from the main floor reached us faint up front. The VIP terrace shimmered under chandeliers while our corner sat under blunt light with a coat rack looming over our chairs. Lena glided over with two friends, heels clicking like punctuation, and leaned in with a smile bright enough to be dangerous. "Ah, you found the family section," she purred. The blonde one laughed. "Quaint." Lena's gaze skimmed my kids like a price tag. "Some events have a standard. It's not personal." I kept my voice low, then stopped turning it into a show. She straightened without losing that smile. "Relax. People won't even notice you back here." Then she pivoted away, pleased with herself. Ethan didn't give her the reaction she wanted. He watched, calm and unreadable, phone resting low in his palm, eyes sweeping the room like a security camera that never blinked. "What are you doing?" I asked, smoothing Noah's collar. "Building a timeline and a list," he whispered. "Everyone who touched this." He tilted the screen, JANELLECOORD, David, venue MGR, staff radio CH3, sponsor wall double logo. Evidence first, I told myself, revenge later. A coordinator rushed past with a clipboard under a clear cover. For a second, the top sheet flashed. Event agreement, signature line at the bottom, a printed name above it I couldn't read. "Is that the contract?" I murmured. Ethan's thumb paused. "Not yet." That phrase yanked me back. Lena playing hostess, lining up dolls like guests, inviting me in only to assign me the job of servant. If I pushed back, she'd tilt her head and say I was too sensitive. I learned early, don't give bullies a scene. Give them a record. So I returned to the present and did what that little girl couldn't. I watched, I logged, I remembered. Ethan nodded toward the sponsor board near the bar. One logo appeared twice, spelled two different ways. "I'm going to get closer," he said. "You're going to confront her." "I'm going to listen to staff." He drifted toward check-in. A staffer with an earpiece stepped in front of him. "Sir, guests are asked to remain in their assigned areas." Ethan smiled like customer service. "Of course, who's the point person if something goes wrong?" "David," the staffer said. "David Mercer?" Ethan asked, and the man's posture shifted. The radio crackled. "David wants the back table kept contained. No wandering." Ethan stepped aside, absorbing every syllable. My phone vibrated. "Unknown number, one text, you're seated by service doors." That wasn't on the original floor plan. Ethan read it once. "Good, we've got a witness." Noah's cold hand curled around my wrist. "Mom, are we in trouble?" I kissed his hair, tasting sugar from the dessert he'd stolen. "No, we're safe. Stay close." Across the room, Avery stood and tugged her cardigan tighter. "I'm going to get water," she said, every muscle in my back locked. "Stay where I can see you," I told her, and Ethan was already turning, eyes tracking her path like a silent promise. That's when I knew the night still had teeth. Avery slipped toward the water station, cardigan vanishing into chandeliers and designer perfume. Ice clinked at the bar as a server drifted past with smoked salmon on slate. Ethan stayed on his feet, half-turned toward the hallway. "You want me to shadow her?" he murmured. "She asked to do it herself," I said. "Just watch." Noah tapped his straw against his glass, pretending he wasn't worried. "She'll be right back," I told him, even as my phone felt heavy in my pocket. From the VIP terrace, laughter floated down. Avery came back too fast. She didn't skip. She hurried, shoulders curled inward, hair stuck to her cheek like she'd run through humidity. Her eyes were red, blinking hard, and she parked behind my chair the way kids do when they want to disappear. "Mom, can we leave?" she whispered. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice soft. "What happened?" "It's dumb," she breathed. "It's not dumb if it hurt," Ethan said, quiet as a seatbelt click. "I just wanted water," Avery whispered, and they were there. "Who?" I asked. "The girls with the shiny bows and the boy in the vest." Noah leaned forward. "Did they touch you?" Avery shook her head. "No, they just talked." "What did they say?" I asked. "My shoes," she said. "They called them mall shoes." Noah frowned. "The mall is awesome." Avery tried to smile for him. It didn't land. "They pointed at my dress," Avery said, voice shaking. One girl went, "Where's the label?" And the other said, "Maybe it fell off in the clearance bin." My jaw locked so tight it hurt. A metallic taste rose in my mouth like biting a coin. "And then the boy said," she whispered, "This is a grown-up party. Discount store kids ruin the vibe." Noah's chair scraped the floor. "That's a lie." Avery flinched and wiped under her nose fast. I tried to walk away. They followed me and kept chanting, "Cheap, cheap," like it was funny. Ethan's posture changed. No fists, no flair, just stillness like a door clicking shut. "Avery," I said, "breathe with me, in and out." She tried, but her breath caught anyway. "And a lady walked by," Avery added, voice dropping. "One of Aunt Lena's friends." She swallowed. She looked at me and said, "Sweetie, maybe you should stay in the back where you belong." The room didn't get quieter. My world did. "Can we go home?" she whispered. "Please, I don't want to be here." I pulled her into my arms. Her cheek was damp against my neck, and the air smelled like citrus and cologne. "You hear me?" I said into her hair. "Your shoes are fine. Your dress is beautiful. And you belong anywhere I stand." Avery sniffed, but they stared. "They stared because they were trained to measure people," I said, "not see them." Ethan crouched beside us, voice gentle and precise. "Did anyone block you, grab you, corner you?" Avery shook her head. "No. Just words." "Okay," he said. "Thank you for telling us. You did the right thing." Then his eyes lifted past the divider toward the terrace, measuring, remembering. I stood and reached for our coats, the hanger rack cold against my forearm. Across the room, Lena's laugh rang out again, too bright, while the sponsor board glowed near the bar and staff radios crackled low. "Coats," Ethan murmured, not looking away from the room. This wasn't random. It was trickle-down cruelty. Lena set the temperature, and everyone else adjusted. Noah whispered, "Are we really leaving?" "We're choosing our peace," I said, because my kids deserved to hear that out loud. Lena noticed us rising. Her head snapped toward our corner, and her face rearranged into concern she could sell as she glided our way. Ethan touched my elbow, light, steady. Avery whispered, "Mom, are you mad at me?" My chest tightened. "I'm mad for you," I told her. "That's different." I took her hand, warm fingers in my cold palm, and turned toward the exit. And as Lena approached with that perfect smile, something inside me finally shifted. That's when I stopped caring about keeping the peace. Lena didn't rush. She glided, heels clicking like punctuation, while Avery clung to my sleeve and Noah pressed to my side, eyes flicking toward the exit. The coat area smelled like starch and steamed linen. A service door nearby breathed out a strip of kitchen heat, garlic, seared meat, hot metal. I slid our coats off the hangers, the bar bit cold into my knuckles, and the rack squeaked like it was complaining on our behalf. Avery's sniffles hit my collarbone in tiny, uneven bursts. Ethan leaned in. "Stay with the kids, let her talk." "You're not going to," I started. "Not yet," he said. Noah tugged Ethan's sleeve. "Are we in trouble?" Ethan knelt just enough to meet his eyes. "No. We're just leaving." Lena arrived, smile already loaded. "Oh my God," she sang. "Is Avery crying?" She turned her head, projecting. "Someone get this child a napkin. She's overwhelmed." Avery tucked behind me, cheeks wet and shiny under the chandelier spill. I kept my voice level. "We're leaving." "Leaving?" Lena's brows lifted. "Because a child got her feelings hurt." Her laugh was light, practiced. "Nia, you can't raise them that fragile." Ethan's eyes didn't leave Lena's. "Watch your language." Lena blinked, then recovered. "Excuse me, I'm concerned. I'm trying to help you." Her gaze raked over Avery's dress. This is what happens when you bring budget energy into a curated space. I held her stare. "Curated? She's 9, she's a kid." Avery's fingers tightened. I rubbed her knuckles with my thumb, small circles, anchor points. "What happened," I said, "is kids repeated what they've heard." Lena's lips parted in mock shock. "Are you blaming me for other people's children?" She raised her voice. "Everybody, listen, my sister thinks I control the entire planet." Then lower, "You're doing this for attention." Lena leaned in, sweet as poison. "Maybe if you taught them presentation, they wouldn't invite comments." Ethan stepped in, a quiet wall. "We're done." Lena's smile thinned. "No, you're embarrassed, and instead of parenting, you're staging a dramatic exit." I lifted Avery's chin. "Eyes on me, baby." "We're going." She tipped her chin toward security like she owned their eyes. "This is my party, my venue, my rules." That one sentence gave us everything. Ethan's gaze flicked past her shoulder to the check-in table where the event binder sat open. A coordinator in a headset hovered there, whispering into her mic, glancing between Ethan and the pages. Her fingers tapped the binder edge, nervous, like she was waiting for permission she didn't have. Ethan's phone buzzed once. A text. He let it sit. "I'm going to say this kindly," Lena announced, loud enough for the sponsor wall to hear. "Your kids don't belong in rooms like this. It's not cruelty, it's standards." Ethan finally checked his screen and tilted it toward me. Contract holder, EHARTWELL Group. My mouth tasted like pennies. I whispered, "That's you." Ethan's reply was flat. "That's whose name is on the paper." Lena kept talking, mistaking silence for surrender. "Put your coats back. Apologize. We can pretend you didn't ruin my evening." Ethan lifted his head and looked past her toward the terrace. "Mr. Caldwell," he called, calm, precise. The music didn't stop, but the room listened anyway. Mr. Caldwell paused mid-step when Ethan said his name. The ballroom smelled of lilies and cologne. Light scattered across marble floors. I held my daughter close, her cheek damp, coats over my arm like we were carrying our exit. Lena's smile stayed glued on. "David," she called, sweet. "Handle this. My sister is being dramatic." Ethan didn't raise his voice. He just steadied the moment. "Mr. Caldwell turned toward us, silver at the temples, suit pressed sharp. His eyes flicked to Avery's red face, then to me. "Is the child okay?" he asked quietly. "We're leaving," I said. "She wants to go." Lena slid in front of him like a curtain. "They're leaving my gala." In the middle, and she's making accusations about kids being mean. She patted the air near Avery's head without touching. "I'm trying to keep things elevated." Mr. Caldwell's smile didn't reach his eyes. "What do you want me to do, Ms. Lennox?" "Escort them out," Lena said, brighter, "before it turns into a whole thing." Ethan's voice came in low. "Before you do anything, Mr. Caldwell, one question." Mr. Caldwell's gaze shifted to him. "Yes, sir." "Can you confirm whose account paid for tonight's event?" Ethan asked, "and whose signature is on the contract?" Lena's laugh was quick and sharp. "Oh my God, Ethan, stop, this is my party." She leaned closer to Mr. Caldwell like she was sharing a secret. "My venue. My rules." A few guests drifted nearer, pretending they were admiring the sponsor wall. "Did he just say contract?" A woman whispered. "Who is Ethan Hartwell?" Someone answered, too loud for a whisper. Mr. Caldwell didn't look at Lena. He looked at Ethan like he was matching a face to a file. "Sir," he said, careful, "why are you requesting that information?" "Because harassment happened," Ethan replied. "A child was targeted. We're leaving, and I want the venue clear on who can remove guests and who can't." Lena's cheeks flushed. "Harassment?" She scoffed, pitching her voice for an audience. "They show up in budget clothes, and now they're calling my guests criminals?" Avery flinched at the word budget like it was a slap. My mouth tasted like pennies. I kept my hands steady anyway. "Mr. Caldwell's gaze flicked toward the check-in table, the binder, the coordinator with the headset. "One moment," he said. Lena waved him off. "David, don't indulge this. Just do your job." Mr. Caldwell didn't answer. He walked. At the check-in table, the coordinator opened the binder with both hands. Pages whispered as she turned them, and Mr. Caldwell scanned, jaw tightening, then lifted the folder and returned like he was carrying a verdict. He stopped in front of Ethan first, as if the order mattered. "Mr. Hartwell," he said. Lena's head snapped. "Who is that, Mr.?" Caldwell tapped a line with his fingertip. "The event is booked under Hartwell Group Holdings, deposit paid from their corporate account." He angled the binder slightly so Ethan could see. Signature, Ethan Hartwell. Phones rose. "Wait," a man near the bar murmured. "Hartwell like the sponsor." Lena blinked hard. "No, I'm the host. I planned everything." "You are listed as event contact," Mr. Caldwell replied. "Dacre, guest communications, seating preferences." His finger slid down the page. "Not contract holder." Ethan's tone stayed even. "So if someone violates the agreement, who does the venue answer to?" Mr. Caldwell didn't hesitate. "The account holder." "And that is?" Ethan asked. Mr. Caldwell looked up. "You, Mr. Hartwell." Lena's smile collapsed. "This is family," she hissed. "You can't do this to me." Ethan finally faced her. "You were allowed to decorate," he said, "not dominate." She had the dress. She had the friends. She had the microphone, but not the contract. Revenge isn't loud, it's precise. Suddenly, the little details clicked: the sponsor banner, the staff's instant respect, Mr. Caldwell's earlier nod like a receipt. Lena hadn't been hosting a kingdom. She'd been borrowing someone else's crown. Lena reached for the binder like she could grab reality off paper. Mr. Caldwell stepped back, small and firm, keeping it out of her reach without making a scene. "Ma'am," Mr. Caldwell said, voice still polite, "this is a legal document." Ethan's attention softened only once when he looked at Avery. "Hey," he said gently, "you did nothing wrong." Avery wiped her face with her sleeve, leaving a dark patch on the knit. "Can we go now?" she whispered. "Yes," I said. "We're leaving." Lena pivoted to me. "Nia, don't ruin this. I can fix it. I'll talk to the parents. I'll make them apologize." "Don't," I said. One word, a boundary. Mr. Caldwell cleared his throat. "Mr. Hartwell, do you wish to continue the event?" Ethan lifted his phone, screen glowing with a PDF. Highlighted lines, clean margins, the kind of document that decides who stays and who gets escorted out. "Not until we address what happened," he said. "Bring security and the coordinator. We'll review the guest conduct clause and the harassment policy attached to it." Lena's breath hitched. "You're going to read a contract at my gala?" Ethan didn't move. He just looked at her like a mirror. "Are you sure?" he asked quietly. "This is everyone you want watching." Lena's throat bobbed once like she swallowed a stone. The chandelier light turned her diamonds into tiny blades. Around us, champagne flutes hovered midair, and the string quartet kept playing, but softer, uncertain, as if even the music didn't want to pick a side. She recovered fast. Lena always did. She turned to the crowd with a bright, practiced laugh. "He's being dramatic, that's all. He's trying to embarrass me because my sister can't handle." Her eyes slid to Avery's blotchy cheeks. "Real standards." My hand tightened around my daughter's small fingers. Her skin felt cold. Ethan didn't argue. He simply nodded once at Mr. Caldwell. "Please bring the coordinator and security," he said, "and the contract addendum." That's when Lena realized this wasn't a family fight. It was a record. Mr. Caldwell spoke into his radio, voice calm, clipped. The air smelled like citrus garnish and expensive perfume, but underneath it I caught the sharp scent of panic, hot, metallic, unmistakable. A woman in a black blazer hurried over, tablet hugged to her chest. Her name tag read, Marisol, Events Coordinator. Behind her, a broad-shouldered security lead approached with an earpiece and a posture that said I end problems for a living. "Mr. Hartwell," Marisol said, eyes flicking from Ethan to Lena, "is there an issue?" Lena cut in. "No, there is not. This is my gala and my sister is causing a scene. I want them removed." Security's gaze went to Avery, then to me, then back to Lena. He didn't move. Ethan's voice stayed level. "Marisol, please open the guest conduct addendum." Marisol blinked. "The addendum." "Yes," Ethan said. "Page 3, phones rose higher. Someone near the bar whispered, 'This is insane,' like they couldn't decide if it was terrifying or entertaining. Marisol tapped her tablet. The screen glowed against her face. "Page 3, she repeated, reading now. Lena tried to regain the narrative with force. "They're lying," she snapped. "They always do this. They show up looking like that, then play victim. I planned this event, I picked the menu, I hired the band. He's only on paperwork because he offered to help." Ethan didn't look at the crowd. He looked at the document. "Read it out loud," he said. Marisol hesitated. Mr. Caldwell gave her a small nod. She cleared her throat. "Guest Conduct Addendum, Section 2.2, harassment, intimidation, or discriminatory remarks toward any guest, including minors, constitutes a material breach." The words landed like a gavel. Lena laughed too hard. "Discriminatory? Over clothes? Please, this is ridiculous." Ethan lifted his phone. A clean PDF filled the screen, highlighted lines neatly boxed, like someone had prepared for exactly this moment. "Section 2.3, he said gently. "The part about consequences." Marisol scrolled, her finger trembling just enough to show she understood the weight of the room. "Upon breach," she read, "the venue may terminate services immediately, remove the offending party or parties, and retain any deposits as liquidated damages." Lena's smile finally slipped at the word retain. My mouth tasted bitter, like I'd bitten my own tongue. A tall man with a gold wristband stepped forward, one of Lena's important friends. He wore a linen suit that looked like it had never seen a laundromat in its life. "Lena," he said, voice careful, "what is this about? Did someone actually say something to a child?" Lena's eyes flashed. "It was a joke. Kids tease. She's being dramatic." "I heard you," another voice cut in. A woman in a sleek red dress stepped from the semicircle, gaze locked on Lena like a spotlight. "At the cocktail table, you said, 'No room for your discount store kids.' I thought it was cruel." A hush rolled across the marble. Lena's face went tight, glossy with fury. "Oh, so now you're all saints?" Ethan finally spoke to the crowd, not for sympathy, just clarity. "My daughter was mocked in the hallway," he said. "Words she didn't deserve. Then her aunt decided to perform the same cruelty in public. That's not standards. That's harassment." He looked at Marisol again. "And this event is booked under my account, correct?" Marisol nodded. "Yes, Mr. Hartwell, Hartwell Group Holdings." Lena's voice cracked. "This is my night." Ethan's reply was quiet, surgical. "It was your stage, not your authority." "Mr." Caldwell folded his hands behind his back. "Mr. Hartwell, as contract holder, you may request enforcement of the conduct policy." Lena turned on Mr. Caldwell like a blade. "David, you're really going to do this? To me? In front of everyone?" The security lead, Rico, his tag said, shifted one step closer, not threatening, just present. Rico's voice was low. "Ma'am, we follow the contract." Lena looked around, searching for allies. Her eyes landed on her inner circle, women who'd laughed earlier, men who'd nodded along with her status games. But now they weren't leaning in. They were leaning away. One woman adjusted her clutch like she was ready to leave. Another pretended to check a text. The gold wristband man took a step back, palms up, as if he'd never known Lena at all. Lena saw it happen in real time, her power evaporating without a sound. Ethan angled his phone so Mr. Caldwell could see one last highlighted section. "Please proceed," he said, "and document the breach." Mr. Caldwell lifted his radio again. "Security," he called, calm as rain, "pause the program. We're enforcing the contract, starting now." The second Mr. Caldwell lowered his radio. The music thinned, wobbled, and died. The ballroom still smelled like lilies and seared duck, but the mood flipped cold in an instant, as if someone opened a door to winter. Crystal chandeliers glittered over a room that suddenly remembered how to be silent, and my sister Lena stood mid-laugh with her champagne flute raised while her smile began to tremble like a bad filter. "David," she started, using his first name like a command. "Mr." Caldwell didn't look at her, he looked at Ethan. "Sir, do you want the program paused now?" Ethan's voice stayed quiet. "Yes, and I'd like Rico here." The DJ froze with one hand over the board, caught between instinct and instructions. A microphone squealed once, sharp, ugly, then the only sounds left were tiny. Ice settling in glasses, a chair leg scraping marble, the soft inhale of people who realized they'd been laughing at cruelty. Lena tried to rescue the moment for her audience. "Everyone relax. It's just a venue hiccup." Marisol, the coordinator, arrived with her clipboard hugged tight, eyes flicking from Ethan's phone to Lena's face like she was reading a scoreboard. "Ms. Lennox, Mr. Caldwell has to follow the contracting party," she said, careful but firm. Lena's chin jerked. "I am the..." "No," Marisol cut in, voice soft as velvet. "You're listed as host, and that isn't the same as signer." Phones lifted like flowers turning to light. Ethan turned his screen toward Mr. Caldwell. A contract, clean PDF, black letters, proof so plain it didn't need theatrics. "Clause 12, Ethan said, tapping once, "guest conduct and harassment." Lena stepped in close, perfume sharp and sugary. "That's private." Ethan didn't flinch. "You made it public when you targeted a child." I kept my palm on Avery's shoulder, feeling her small bones steady under my hand. Her cheeks were still damp, and the soft cotton of her simple dress brushed my thumb like a reminder of why we were here. Mr. Caldwell read for a long beat, then lifted his eyes. "Ma'am, this agreement includes an anti-harassment clause. It allows immediate suspension of services if the host or anyone acting on their behalf creates an unsafe environment." "Acting on my behalf?" Lena scoffed. "Are you serious?" Rico arrived with 2 guards, suit matte black, posture like a locked door. Mr. Caldwell nodded toward him. "We're moving to compliance," he said, and Rico nodded back like he'd been waiting for that exact sentence. Ethan scrolled again. "Payment confirmation, deposit and final balance, account holder." He angled the screen so the name at the top couldn't be dodged. Lena's face shifted, smug to blank to scared, in 3 heartbeats. "No." Then she snapped louder for the crowd. "He's lying, he's jealous." Marisol cleared her throat. "We received 2 complaints tonight, one from a guest's child, one from staff who witnessed derogatory remarks." Lena spun on her. "You work for me?" "I work for the venue," Marisol said, and that was the dagger. Because the venue worked under contract. A murmur rose, low, hungry, and people glanced at each other like traders watching a stock drop. One woman in a silk dress slid a cautious step away from Lena, then another, as if distance could disinfect her. Mr. Caldwell's tone stayed procedural, almost bored. "Because of the breach, the deposit is forfeited and service is suspended." "What deposit?" Lena barked, then stopped, because she remembered she hadn't paid it, not with her money. Her phone buzzed once, twice, then a rapid vibration like a trapped insect. Marisol glanced at her own device. "The charity board is asking for an incident report. Also, your brand manager is calling." Lena swallowed hard. "Who told them?" Ethan answered without looking at her. "The room did." Rico stepped closer. "Ma'am, step away from the center floor. Now." Lena planted her heels, and the marble under her stilettos looked suddenly slick. "Touch me and I'll sue," she hissed, voice pitched to scare witnesses into sympathy. Rico's voice didn't change. "This is a private venue. You're being directed by management." Mr. Caldwell lifted his radio again. "If she refuses, issue a trespass warning and escort her out." Trespass. One word and the air got thinner. Lena turned, hunting faces for backup, but the same people who'd laughed at discount store kids suddenly found the bar, the exit, their watches, anything but her eyes. She tried charm, then anger, then pleading, and none of it landed. "This is over kids' drama." She snapped, voice cracking. I stepped forward, spine straightening on its own. "It was never drama. It was you teaching everyone it's safe to be cruel." Avery's hand slid into mine, warm, small, cert, and I felt my own pulse finally slow. Ethan's voice softened, almost merciful. "Gather your things, Lena. Tonight's done." We didn't shout, and we didn't celebrate. We walked, quiet and intact, past the sponsor wall and the stunned stairs, and the cold night air hit my face like clean water. Behind us, Lena's world kept collapsing in polite silence. You don't lose money first. You lose access first. And in the car, with streetlights sliding across Avery's lashes, she finally asked the question that mattered. Streetlights slid across Avery's lashes as she whispered the question like it was glass. "Why do people think clothes decide who matters?" The car smelled of rosemary from the gala's catering we never touched, mixed with the bite of Lena's perfume, and my mouth tasted like metal, adrenaline that refused to leave. Ethan drove in silence while the wipers kept time, rain beating on the windshield like bright coins. I didn't answer right away. Avery's fingers worried the hem of her dress, clean cotton, soft from too many washes and too much love, and her shoe tapped once, then stopped, like she was afraid to be noticed. "Because some people don't know what else to measure," I said. "So they grab price tags and pretend it's character." Avery frowned, but I didn't do anything. "No, baby," I brushed a knuckle under her chin. "It was never about you. It was about them needing someone to stand under." Ethan's eyes met mine in the mirror, and he gave one small nod, the kind that says, "Boundary set, bolt thrown." Avery swallowed. "Did I do something wrong?" That question hit harder than any insult, pressing on my ribs like a weight. "You did everything right," I told her. "You asked to leave, you told the truth, you protected your heart." The heater hummed and the seatbelt lay warm across her shoulder, safe, real, present. "What about the kids who said it?" she asked. "Their parents heard," Ethan said. "Two apologized at the valet, one tried to laugh. Security walked them out." I added, "Cruelty gets brave until consequences show up." Avery stared out at the streets, then back at me. "So, real wealth is being nice? It's being decent when you could be ugly," I said. Real class is how you treat people when you think they can't help you, and real love is drawing a line when someone tries to hurt your family. My phone buzzed once. I glanced, Lena, and didn't open it, because the last time she had an audience, she lost it. The screen lit again anyway, one email from the charity board that read, "We need to talk," and a frantic text from someone saved as brand team, like reputation was a fire they could still smother. Blood doesn't get to charge admission to your peace. When we pulled into our driveway, Avery exhaled like she'd been holding her breath all night and leaned into me, hair smelling like shampoo and the faint sweetness of the mint gum Ethan kept in the console. "Mom," she murmured. "Yeah." "If Aunt Lena says sorry, do we have to go back?" I kissed her forehead. "No, sorry doesn't erase harm, and forgiveness never means access." Ethan parked, the engine ticking as it cooled. "Our home isn't a stage," he said. "No one performs here." Avery nodded, small but cert. And that's what she learned, what I hope you remember too. You can't shame a family that knows its worth. If this story hit home, you're not alone.